Hello everyone, I'd like to introduce Module 5 when we look at accountability and external control and performance evaluation. This is really an interesting module since it's following up from Module 4 where we looked at the internal control structure and the importance of internal controls. One of the things that we looked at in particular was there was the example of the local government commission in North Carolina and how they've established this really strong mechanism of internal controls within their state, and how it's really fortified them in terms of not filing for bankruptcy or not having as many bankruptcies or defaults that they've filed for. And I raised a question whether or not this could be implemented in California, despite the much larger geographic nature of our state and really diverse population. Some of you seem to believe that it is a possibility, whereas others did not think it would be viable at all. So it was very interesting to see your comments and feedback in that area of your reflective essay. So again, for this particular module, we're looking at the external control environment and what practices or procedures are put in place by organizations to ensure that, despite what's going on internally, what really occurs from our external auditors ensures that our governments are running fiscally sound and that they are also performing to their best capabilities as possible. So I think this is again a nice follow-up to the first module or from our previous module on internal controls, and it kind of brings it full circle to see how these things are covered internally and then externally, and which type of organizations are actually doing these audits. In addition to that, I want to also remind you that your midterm exam will be at the end of this week. It'll open up Friday at 12:01 a.m. and close or conclude, so to speak, Saturday at 11:59 p.m. So give yourself enough time to take the exam. You'll have, I believe, 90 minutes to take the exam, and what it consists of are 8 true-false questions, and those are valued at 3 points apiece. You have 20 multiple-choice questions, and those are valued at 2 points apiece. And you have 3 short-answer essay questions, which are 12 points each. So again, give yourself ample time to first study and prepare for the exam, but also to actually take the exam and not wait until the last minute if possible. One of the things that we do cover in this particular module is the in terms of the external auditing process is another mechanism or another way for the public to become engaged and to really be more aware of the financial capabilities of their government. And one of the mechanisms that's been utilized over the last several years is the implementation by local governments to create these popular annual financial reports. And similar to the CAFR, the Consolidated or Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the PAFR, as it's termed, is supposed to be very user or citizen friendly and not laden with so much quantitative information and notes and figures, but really meant to show in a layman's term what government is doing, what your government is doing for you with the resources it has been allocated. The article looks at the USEF article looks at the PAFRs and their increased prevalence, and I'll share some information with you in terms of how these PAFRs have come to be, also how they're actually rated, and how you can determine if this is a good report or a good PAFR versus one that's not so good. And I think it's just another way that government is trying to rely upon and use to be engaged and inform the public of what's going on. So if you're not aware of those already, perhaps the city in which you live in is utilizing these. But if you go to, I believe it's the Gatsby website, but I'll post it and make it available to you. They have a list of various cities and counties around the country that are utilizing these PAFRs. And then finally, one thing I wanted to mention was in terms of the reflective essays. Overall, they're very good, and I'm very pleased with the responses that you've done. And I wanted to explain or discuss the rationale for the reflective essays. Obviously, in this online environment, there are other classes where you may have group discussions, and I've used group discussions in the past, and I've moved away from that for the last several quarters, primarily because I wanted to have a more direct conversation or experience with the students, and I find that the group discussions don't lend themselves to that in as valuable as a way, I think, as the reflective essays. So the reflective essays, on one hand, are designed for you to recall and think about the information that you've learned in this in the module that you're studying. Obviously, it's also provides an element for you to provide clarifying questions for anything that may not be so clear. And I thought that was important as well, and that's another thing I really wanted you to have the opportunity to do. And also, again, with the reflective essays, I try to respond to every student and look at the questions that you may have raised, and then in addition to those personal responses, also provide the class a summary of some of the questions that a majority of you have asked. So that's the rationale behind the reflective essays. I hope that it's working well for you. But in any event, if you do have any questions on this module, future modules, and also the midterm exam, please let me know. And I look forward to having another good week, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.